Look, I know a lot of people right now are considering this week an auto win. And I'm telling you right now, stop that and do not overlook Nevada.
You are Locked On Golden Gophers, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, Gopher fans? You're listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Kane Rob, host of the podcast, former collegiate football video coordinator and recruiting assistant, here to talk Golden Gophers with you each and every day of the week, Monday through Friday. And today we're diving into the Nevada Wolfpack. We're getting ready for week 3, and I think it's a bigger game than many folks are considering or even thinking. I think it could be a closer game than some folks would care to admit, but we're going to break down what the Nevada team to be on the lookout for on their offense, their defense, what we've seen from them through 3 games, because they played a week 0 game as well, and the 3 biggest concerns I have for the Gophers in this week. So you're definitely going to want to sit back and hit subscribe so you don't miss any of your other daily Gophers content, including us talking about the 3 keys to victory tomorrow, talking about 3 players that need to step up, and so much more. And then we'll have our predictions this week with Tristyn Spann-Ford as well. So we're back at it. The flu is gone. I appreciate those of you who wish me well wishes on recovering from that, but we are moving forward and we're ready for week 3. Now let's dive in and let's talk about the Nevada Wolfpack. Now they have a new head coach this season. I don't know if you pronounce his last name Choate or Coate. It could be either way, but it's Jeff. We're going to go with Choate, head coach, entering his first season as the head coach for the Nevada Wolfpack. Now, he was the co-defensive coordinator last year for Texas and the linebackers coach since 2021 for Texas. So he's been on a program that had some struggles but was on the rise, and then all of a sudden was doing very, very well with Steve Sarkisian. He's worked with a very good head coach himself, and now he had the best rushing defense in the Big 12 last year, and the 3rd in the country, 4th in the country in red zone defense last year, and 13th in the country in scoring defense, and the 23rd total defense overall last season. So defense is his specialty, but right now his defense is still in the works. It's still figuring things out. It's still early in the season, but he had experience prior to being at Texas. He had even worked at Boise State. He had worked at Montana State, and overall, I think that he has some really relevant experience, and he also has CFP experience with Texas last season. So overall, I think he is a guy that is building and developing with this job, and I think we're already seeing it through 3 weeks of play with the Nevada Wolfpack. And on top of that, you saw it right away from jump, where he brought in 24 transfers to the Nevada Wolfpack. 24 transfers coming into their program, and 16 of those were coming in from power conference schools. So we got a lot of top tier talent that maybe didn't get their opportunities at their power conference schools, but now they can find the opportunity to play and hopefully shine for the Nevada Wolfpack. Now, some of the key players they brought in that have been starters through these last few games, or key players, Savion Red coming from Texas with his head coach. He's a running back. Patrick Garwo, a running back from Boston College. Caden Johnson, an edge rusher from Wisconsin. Christopher Ross, an edge rusher from Texas. And Spencer Level, interior offensive lineman from Kansas. Now, first, let's dive into the offense and what we've seen from Nevada through 3 weeks, 3 games played. They played in week 0, week 1, and week 2. So they have 3 games, looking to make it 4 against the Gophers this upcoming week. Now their tackles, and I mean offensive tackles, Tyson Ruffins and Spencer Level have been phenomenal to kick off this season. Their pass blocking especially has been the higher rated or graded discipline for both of their tackles, and it's not just a good grade, it is an elite grade. One has an offensive line pass blocking grade of a 90.0, and the other one has an 84.4. Both of those are phenomenal. They've been holding it down, especially in the pass blocking area, and that can't be overstated. That is a strength for a G5 team that had basically holes all over the field last season and many seasons prior to that. So overall, they've got things kind of going in the right direction from that offensive line perspective. They also have Spencer Level, who plays on the interior from Kansas. He's played really well. I think that they have something building with that offensive line, and clearly it's been giving them a sturdy presence on the offense, both in the run game and the pass game. But the most important player it's at the most important position, and that is quarterback Brendan Lewis. Now, that name might sound familiar for some folks, and that's because Minnesota has already played him. He played for Colorado when Minnesota played them in 2022, and he was not great there. He didn't get very much opportunity. He was one of multiple quarterbacks that played against the Gophers, but this is not the same quarterback that was at Colorado, plain and simple. Now, last year was his first year as a starter, and it wasn't for the full season, but he got in as a starter last season for Nevada, and he ended up with mixed results: 1,300 passing yards, 55% completion, which isn't great, 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and then he had 495 rush yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. So the rushing production was nice. The passing production was mediocre at best, and then the touchdown to interception ratio was really poor. That was a tough year one, but he competed. He competed with some guys coming in from the portal. Chuba Purdy, Brock Purdy's brother from Nebraska, came over. He beat him out for the job. And overall, Brendan Lewis has taken a hold of that job in year 2. In these 3 games, he has looked like a completely different player. He has had 561 yards across those 3 games, 67% completion percentage. So that's up 12% from last year. And he also has 5 touchdowns with 0 interceptions, along with 208 rushing yards and a touchdown on the ground through 3 weeks. Now, he is taking care of the ball. He's completing more passes. He's been a threat in both facets of the offense when it comes to running and passing, and that is with 2 relatively consistent G5 opponents that they have already played and a power conference opponent that they have played thus far in the early parts of the season. And that's not taking into account a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, system changes, and all of that. And yet this Nevada Wolfpack team has been very competitive with fairly decent opponents in their early stages of the season. Now, that said, Minnesota has had a lot of game planning against dual threat quarterbacks last season. Even Nebraska, we had Jeff Sims. Eastern Michigan, I believe it was Austin Davis. UNC, they had Drake May. Louisiana, they had Zion Chris. And then Illinois, they had Luke Altmaier. So the Gophers have had to plan for quarterbacks that can get it done on the ground and through the air. And so I think that they'll have some advantage on maybe ways to stop that or give him troubles. And hopefully, having seen him a little bit already, maybe they have some old tendency tape as well. But right now, I think there were lapses as well in the Gophers defense against rushing quarterbacks last year, but it was usually against quarterbacks they didn't anticipate were going to run that would gash them for a couple big plays throughout the game. Now, this one, they will absolutely anticipate that he is going to run at times in this game. So I think the defense should slow a player who has been on a hot streak as of late. Now, when you flip it to the run game, there's 2 names to know. Both of them are transfers. Savion Red, who followed his head coach from Texas, he leads the running backs with 34 attempts with 254 rush yards and a touchdown. And then that second back is more of a power back in Patrick Garwo from Boston College, and he has 87 yards on 19 attempts, but he has 2 touchdowns already on the season. Now, as far as pass catching threats go, there's really only 2 main guys to really keep in consideration, but I'll say all 3 of their top 3 receivers account for 85% of their receiving production, but the top 2 basically acquired 70% of the 70% of the passing production, receiving production has come from those top 2 receivers so far in these 3 games. So those top 2 are senior Jaden Smith and senior Corez Brahim. Now, Smith had 14 receptions, 216 yards so far, so really good production overall, no scoring so far. And then Brahim has had 17 receptions, 204 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So both of them are well equipped to gash a team and do it on a deep ball across the intermediate or maybe even on a short route, but you have to keep them under wraps. If you can keep them kind of slowed down and make sure you have your eyes on this quarterback, then hopefully you can give this offense some fits. But really, it is what you see is what you get with this Nevada Wolfpack offense, but their ability to run the option, use their quarterback's play as a strength, and really the key to the offense is basically their quarterback and his duality as a quarterback. If you can get this quarterback frazzled, if you can get him on his heels, if you can create chaos, if you can get him out of his comfort zone, similar to last year when he played for Nevada, then you can put this team away and you can take over. And that's what we haven't seen a team necessarily do, but that's why Nevada's been in the fight in every one of their matchups. But if the Gophers can get him on his heels, get him confused, get him out of sorts, that's where you can really take over and hopefully win by a larger point spread. But right now, if he stays clean, if he stays composed, well, then the team's death by 1,000 paper cuts on the offense and moving the field slowly, but taking it slow but surely and doing whatever means necessary has been working to keep them in the games all the way down to the wire. Now, this game should give us a good look for the Gophers on their defense and see if they are legitimately a top 20, top 25 defense like they have been showing so far, or if anything will be exposed in the defense over the course of this game. But speaking of defenses, we're going to talk about Nevada's defense coming up next, since that's their coach's specialty. What is there to be on the lookout for? We'll dive into that next. All right, Gophers fans, if you need to have your own control, be your own coach, and take advantage of everything that coaches have to do, well, it's time to download the Ultimate College Football Head Coach app. And Locked On Golden Gophers fans, I'm telling you right now, it is like having your EA NCAA 25 on the go with your phone wherever you go. And I think you have even more control. I think you have even more ability to get creative and help foster your team to a championship and glory. Can you imagine making the decisions of PJ Fleck every single day? You probably think you can do it better. Well, now's the time to prove it with the Ultimate College Football Head Coach app. And let me tell you, this app is completely free, has no ads, which is a major, major plus. And on top of that, it is 100% playable offline, so you can play on the go as you want, when you want. And of course, we have a special offer for our Locked On Golden Gophers listeners, because if you use promo code LOCKEDONCFB, that's LOCKEDONCFB in all caps, then inside the game store, you will receive a free boost to your program. So make sure to take advantage of this perk, and it'll help your team start off strong and hopefully bring you that conference championship and national championship in year one. So download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up in the app stores at Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today with the Ultimate College Football Head Coach app. All right, Gophers fans, we're diving into the Nevada defense. Now, what do we need to know about this defense? Well, so far, if you look at their stats across all of the FBS landscape, they're 85th in total defense, 103rd in pass defense, 58th in rush defense, 93rd in scoring defense, and 98th in turnovers gained. Now, if you look at those numbers, you're probably like, whew, this defense is not very good for a coach that specializes in defense. But you got to think they have a ton of transfers coming in. It's a whole program flip. There's a whole new scheme. So they're still getting used to things. They're still getting things into place. They're still finding their consistency. So yes, the head coach is focused on defense, but clearly something is building, and that includes language and understanding of the playbook, then working it up to speed, and then getting to your instinctiveness. And Nevada has played decent competition. SMU, which was a bowl team last year, 11-3 on the season, only lost to Oklahoma, TCU, and Boston College. They also played Georgia Southern this year, and that was a bowl team last year that was 6-7. And then they had Troy this year, who they played, and that is their victory so far on the season. They were a bowl team last season that was 11-3 on the year and only lost to Kansas State, JMU, and Duke. Now, why do I bring all of that up? I bring it up because Nevada is a team that was 2-10 last season, and this is not the same Nevada team as the 2024 Nevada team with new coaching, a ton of new players, and yet this new team went down to the wire with every single one of those opponents I just mentioned, down to a single score game with all three teams, and currently sits at 1-2, but they very well could be 3-0, given a play or two difference in a couple of those games. So please, Gophers fans, hear me. Do not underestimate this team. This is not a game to overlook on the way to Iowa next week. Now, when you're looking at their defense, their tackle leaders are Drew Watts, a linebacker, 29 tackles, 2 pass breakups so far, and then another linebacker, Antonigiaki Montelona. I could have said that wrong, but 22 tackles, 2 pass breakups as well. So they've got 2 quality linebackers leading the charge, but their highest graded players, their top 6 graded players, are actually across the DBs and the edge rushers, who have 6 players all graded above a 72.8. And the best player is safety Keaton Crawford, who has a grade of an 82.0, which is definitely a rock solid grade. Now, Nevada doesn't have a ton of sacks this year. They don't have a ton of success on getting to the quarterback quite yet, but neither do the Gophers as of right now. And we know the Gophers have the guys to do it. They've proven it in a Ja Joyner and a Danny Strigau. We just haven't gotten to the quarterback quite yet in these first two games. Now, Nevada actually has 47 pressures in 3 games, which is an average of 15.7 pressures on the quarterback per game, whereas Minnesota has 33 pressures in 2 games with an average of 16.5. So they're within less than 1 pressure of each other per game. So they actually are similar on the front of they're seeing a lot of pressures, but they're not quite getting to the quarterback. So hopefully this can be more of a proving ground for the Minnesota offensive line and not a testing ground for the Nevada defense. Now, all of this is to say that the defensive production might not look great when it comes to looking at it across the FBS right now, or looking at a box score right now compared to the other teams in the country who may have played FCS schools or may have played lower tier opponents, because that's not the case with Nevada right now. They've played some quality opponents and they've played them all well in single score games with a new head coach, a new system, and what have you. But the truth is, this can be a quality team and a great next step for the Gophers and not just an auto win. So to close today's show, I'm going to tell you my 3 biggest concerns for this game in week 3 versus Nevada. Not the 3 keys to victory. We're going to cover that tomorrow, like we like to do each and every week here at Locked On Golden Gophers. But the things that will keep me up at night, the things that could haunt Minnesota, those are the 3 things that we're going to talk about coming up next. All right, Gophers fans, I got to tell you about our friends over at 5 Hour Energy, because I know some of y'all know this. Some of y'all have listened to the pod. Some of y'all chat with me on Twitter and whatnot. But I have a newborn. He does not want to sleep through the night. And newborn's a stretch at this point because he's like 6-7 months old. But he still doesn't want to stay sleeping through the night. We both just got over the flu. And so it's been long nights. It's been long days. It's been nonstop go, go, go. And I would not be able to get through it without 5 Hour Energy. And if you need something of the same, if you need something to get through long weekends to watch as many sports as you can, or you've got long nights for work or what have you, you definitely need to give 5 Hour Energy a try. Not only does it get you going and it is the perfect pick-me-up, but it also has 0 sugar, and it's a convenient portable size and the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. And on top of that, you can go to their website and make your own 12-pack or 24-pack with all the flavor choices. They've got different flavors for different folks. So you'll find the flavors for you over at 5 Hour Energy. That's the number 5hourenergy.com. And you're definitely going to want to give it a try because 5 Hour Energy is the brand hardworking people like you have trusted for over 20 years to give them alert, energized feeling that they need to get through a busy, hectic day. And you always know where to find 5 Hour Energy shots right at the cash register at nearly every convenience, drug, and grocery store nationwide. Well, now you can get your own 12-pack or 24-pack at 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5 Hour Energy. And while you're there, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB. That's LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. Now, this code is only valid until September 30th. So now's the time to go take advantage and shop over at 5hourenergy.com today. Definitely get it going with 5 Hour Energy. All right, Gophers fans, we are flying through this one, but we got to talk about the 3 biggest concerns for the Gophers in week 3, because these are the things that keep me up at night. These are the things that I'm like, man, I'm going to wake up on Sunday morning and I'm going to be like, the Gophers did this, this, and this. I can't believe it. We lost to Nevada. How did that happen? Those are my biggest concerns. And those 3 concerns are the things that if the Gophers don't have an answer for or solve, they could end up with a loss, something that will bring up Bowling Green, something that will bring up Northwestern and Illinois from last year, something that if Minnesota loses this game in week 3, the fan base could be tuned out for the rest of the season, except for the rivalry games, basically. If Minnesota doesn't make this happen and find a way to win this game, the attitude from the fan base, not the whole fan base, not every single fan, but a majority of the fan base will be relatively sour, because for many it is an expected win. And I really don't think it will be a auto win like some people want to say. I think it will be a challenge, but my 3 biggest concerns are the following. First, number 1, my biggest concern is that will the run defense show as being stout? Will they actually come to play and be a consistent run defense? Now, UNC, they gashed us on the ground with Omarion Hampton, and it wasn't the fact that they couldn't slow him down, because there were many opportunities to get that done, but they had so many missed tackles in that game that it came back to burn them in the long run, in a game they absolutely should have won. Now, the missed tackles were insane, but then in Rhode Island, it was a clean game. They only had 5 missed tackles on the game. They really shut them down. There really was no offensive production for Rhode Island, but can the Gophers prove that as true once again against an improving G5 program? The run defense will be very necessary in this game for both the running backs and that quarterback we've already discussed. And if you have missed tackles on the quarterback in the quarterback run game, that is what will kill you in this game, especially on 3rd and longs, especially giving them short first downs, short second downs, to not have 3rd and longs, to make your defense stay on the field for longer, aka this is what truly extends drives, and that is what can hurt the Gophers in this one. The run defense has to come to play and prove it wasn't just Rhode Island, but that the run defense can be stout when finishing their tackles. Now, point number 2, can the offensive line stand strong? Many may point to the pressure on Brosmer as the main point for that, but I think the bigger thing is actually that you need it to stand strong for the run game, to finally have a big and dominant run game. You need to have a game where your run game clicks so well that you're like, oh yeah, that's the Gophers team I remember. That's the style of ball that PJ Fleck likes to run. And right now we haven't had the offensive line push and the offensive line separation to be able to have that dominant of a run game. So overall, if you have a big run game, that not only helps you on the ground, but it will help this quarterback in trying to get play action plays, trying to get pass explosives. But all of that is predicated on the offensive line showing strong from snap 1 until the scoreboard hits zeros. And if that doesn't happen, then this game could be uncomfortably close for the Gophers, like each and every one of Nevada's games so far have been. And then the third and final concern for me in this game is overlooking this team and looking towards Iowa for the following week. Now, when I say this, I'm not saying it as like fans overlooking it. I'm not saying fans looking to the Iowa week and all that. I am talking about from a player's point of view, from a coach's point of view, the ones who actually affect the result on the field. Now, with PJ Fleck's culture and his mentality and what he preaches to the media and the fans and whatnot, is that they always are looking at going 1-0 in the championship season, 1-0 in the Nevada championship season this week. That is the only thing they're looking at. That is their mentality. And that shouldn't, so overall, us overlooking this Nevada team should not be the case, but we are going to find out this week if the Gophers' actions align with that 1-0 mentality, because this has trap game written all over it. We know the drama from last year's Iowa game. We know when the fans were throwing beer bottles and stuff at the Gophers. We know about the fair catch, and people are going to be debating that. Fans are already bracing themselves for not a fair catch versus a legal fair catch signal and all of that jazz. You know, the rivalry already had hatred, and the way last year's game ended, both sides will have a ton to prove, and the game will be here on home turf. But that isn't until next week. We can't start Iowa Hate Week. We can't start the Bacon Week, or whatever you want to call it, or even talk about the preparation for that game, because each and every player on this Gophers roster, each and every coach on this Gophers roster has to give every second of preparation to week 3 versus the Nevada Wolfpack. Because if Minnesota loses in week 3, not only will it deflate this fan base, but it will most likely zap the momentum for rivalry week a bit as well. And that could be detrimental to a team that is going to need all of the momentum, all of the chemistry, all of the fire to heading into that week. So you have to take care of business. You have to get a dub at home and keep your home streak that is now 1-1, make it go 2-1 in week 3. So PJ Fleck, Max Brosmer, Darius Taylor, Cody Lindenberg, defense, offense, special teams, everything Gophers related, please lock in to Nevada and get the W. That's going to do it for us on today's show of Locked On Golden Gophers. Now, like I said, tomorrow, we're going to dive into 3 players that need to step up. We're going to dive into the keys to winning the Nevada Wolfpack game and a little bit more. So you're going to want to tap in. Be sure to subscribe over on YouTube. Be sure to drop your comments down in the chat below. I love seeing them. I love y'all chatting with each other as well. And I appreciate y'all for tapping into Locked On Golden Gophers each and every day. Until next time, I will see you then. Row the boat, Sky Imago Gophers, as always. And please don't forget to hit subscribe.